Welcome to the KayaCast podcast, presented by Kaya Push, the cannabis software making people management easy. The KayaCast is all about helping cannabis retailers launch, grow, and scale their business.
We're your hosts. I'm Maria McCliggett.
And I'm Tom Mulhern.
And today we're going to answer one of the top questions people ask when it comes to building a cannabis business.
One thing I keep hearing over and over and over and over and over again is that paid ads and like actual marketing is so hard because ads get taken down, or they people work on these campaigns for so long and then Google or Facebook or whoever just takes it down. So what can dispensaries or cannabis companies do? Like, we need help here, Maria, and I think that you might have a solution for us.
Cannabis business owners might feel like the entire world is out to get them. There's so many hurdles to jump over, so much paperwork to file, a lot of steps to take to finally get your business open. And then when you do, you might hit another wall, realizing that advertising your business is a lot harder than you thought. So cannabis advertising has tons of rules, laws, and regulations surrounding it. And even if you are doing everything right, your ads still might get taken down by the platform that you're advertising on. But don't worry, because I have some tips for you to make sure that your ads don't get flagged.
Are there certain platforms that people can use for cannabis advertising where they won't get flagged? Like, I guess that's probably the safest place to start is, if there's already a cannabis audience, is there a place that you can advertise that they're not going to pull you off of there?
Yeah, so there's actually a few platforms that allow cannabis imagery and wording to be used in your ads, as long as it's in states or countries where cannabis is legal. So Twitter currently allows cannabis imagery and wording to be used in advertising, as long as you are Health Canada certified and you're not advocating for cannabis use.
Does that mean you're not pushing cannabis on people? But how can you advertise without advocating for cannabis use?
A lot of the cannabis advertising laws are going to be similar to tobacco advertising laws. So just the same way that a lot of the cannabis packaging is moving towards being similar to tobacco packaging, cannabis advertising is going to be about the same. So you can't have pictures or videos of people smoking weed or talking about how good the weed tastes, how high it makes them, anything like that. But you can advertise your actual dispensary, and you can use pictures of cannabis.
Now, are there cannabis specific like platforms that you could use as well? Like Twitter obviously is the big one, but are there cannabis specific ones?
Most of the cannabis websites are going to allow advertising. Things like MJ Biz Daily, Leafly, Roll It Up, they're all going to allow cannabis advertising. But of course, you have to follow the laws and regulations in your country or state. Some states just allow CBD or hemp ads. So you might want to just check out your local regulations to make sure that you're following them. If you're thinking about advertising cannabis on Twitter, you're going to want to contact one of their advertising reps so they can set you up with everything that you need. One of the things they're going to make sure is that you're Health Canada certified. Otherwise, you won't be able to advertise.
What about advertising on other platforms like Instagram and Reddit or TikTok or some of these big social media platforms? Is there a way to do paid ads on there, or is that just not even a smart idea?
Yeah, so you can definitely still get around it, even if you can't use cannabis wording or imagery. So some things that you should keep in mind while trying to advertise your dispensary is don't use any cannabis-related words in your headline or the copy of your ad. And you also can't have any cannabis-related words on the actual landing page. So that's going to get you flagged immediately, along with any cannabis imagery, of course. Advertising platforms are really good at catching anything cannabis related. So any word, you might think you're being sneaky, but you're probably not. So any cannabis wording, imagery, even if you just have a little cartoon drawing of a cannabis leaf, they're going to find it and they're going to flag it.
What are some other creative ways that you can do cannabis advertising for your business? What we've done is we created a podcast. We created the KayaCast to kind of share what Kaya Push is doing. We can say pretty much anything we want on here, and it's a great way to advertise different brands. And we've been able to spotlight partners and cool organizations that are doing cool stuff, because a podcast is really a platform where you can share anything. But is there other creative ideas of ways you can advertise your cannabis business?
So, native content is going to get you pretty far as long as you're creating valuable content. So, a podcast, you might want to create a blog, you could get into influencer marketing. So, most of the social media platforms allow you to say the words cannabis, to show cannabis, as long as you're not advertising it and as long as you're not glorifying the drug or, again, advocating for its use. You can actually advertise your dispensary on Facebook and Instagram as long as you're not mentioning cannabis. So the word dispensary is totally fine to say. You can also use buzzwords such as buds, special tobacco, tomatoes, those types of things. Just a tricky way to get around social media policies. Another tip is to check out what your competitors are doing or big dispensary chains. How are they advertising? Maybe you can replicate something similar so you don't have to come up with the tricky ways around it.
There's lots of creative ways to get around those rules, and not in like a sneaky way, but we're advertising such a great product, such an important plant. You have to be creative. You have to think outside the box to be able to advertise properly on these different platforms.
Every business deserves to advertise, and you're going to want to bring people into your store who might not know that you exist without ads. So you can find some creative ways around it. But always remember to stick to your local regulations when advertising cannabis. And another important thing to remember is that cartoons cannot be used to advertise cannabis. You might think that your cartoon pot leaf is cute and it's going to drive business, but it's deemed as advertising to children.
You said you can't use any sort of cannabis imagery, but what if your logo is like a pot leaf and like a little cartoon guy? Like, what do you do then?
If your logo is trademarked, sometimes your cartoon might be okay. I know other companies who their logo was trademarked and it was kind of grandfathered in. But otherwise, generally, social media is going to reject your ad if you have your logo on it and it is pot leaf related. So if your logo contains any sort of cannabis imagery, it's best to come up with a logo version that just doesn't have that imagery. It's unfortunate, but it's the way that it is.
So it sounds like to be able to do some of this digital advertising, there's a lot of hoops that you have to jump through, but at the end of the day, you're able to do it. Is that correct?
Exactly. And if you're a cannabis business owner, then you're basically a gymnast because you are jumping hurdles all day long.
There's nothing easy in working in this industry, but it's so rewarding. And it's even kind of fun. It can be like a puzzle that you have to figure out creative ways to get your advertising out there and get your products to the people that need them.
Honestly, there's nothing more rewarding than when your ad got denied 50 times, you went back and forth with it, and it finally gets accepted. It's the best feeling in the world.
Thanks for listening to the KayaCast podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app or visit our website at kayacast.fm to learn more about our guests and to access the full archive of episodes of the show. We can't wait to share more stories with you each week of cannabis retailers launching, growing, and scaling their business.